The Celtics seemed like they were maybe going to get back into this one despite the poor shooting. Alas, they did not, and Jason Tatum got himself ejected. We're going to talk all about that and a few other less painful topics next on First to the Floor.
Who was going to be first to the floor here? And it was Marcus Smart, as he usually is.
Brown drives, way upon the glass.
That's not the first time we've seen a superstar in green and white sacrifice the body.
Knocked away.
Hey, welcome into another episode of First to the Floor. Ben Vallis here. Thank you for joining us. Hope you're doing well, which I assume you are not based on what we just witnessed. The Celtics, they dropped this one in brutal fashion, shooting just 21% from three. Yuck. Wayne Spooney's with us on this one. How you doing, Spoons?
I'll just say it. I'm doing terrible. That was awful. I pinched a nerve in my back right before the game started too.
Oh,
so
man.
I'm playing hurt. It's just been a rough 3 hours.
I think you probably still could put up a few more threes in the Celtics in this one, despite the pinch nerve there. Also with us, the man with the mistress not performing along with the rest of the team in this one, Jake Eisenberg. How you doing, mate?
It was not a mistress problem tonight. But,
You are correct. Yep.
Well, losing is so much less fun than winning, especially on a night like that. Where
Wild take.
yeah, and I feel like you were just not used to it as much this season, and this was kind of like an ugly one, and so it just kind of got punched throughout.
Yeah, 109-94 the final score there. Didn't even breach the 100 mark, the old C's. No Jaylen Brown in this one, out for personal reasons. There was a pre-game sideline beer spillage, the rare pre-game beer on the court. I don't know if that we can look back on it now in hindsight as a bad omen, but it's just the beginning of things to come. And we're staring down the barrel here of a few bad Jason Tatum games, which we'll get into, I'm sure. Spoonie, just going broad here, what were your overall takeaways from this one?
Yeah, I think this game in a lot of ways starts and ends with the 3-point shooting or the lack thereof. 42 shots. I bet you 35 of them were good to great looks, man. And you just couldn't get anything to go. Derek White had a handful of wide open threes, and he's been on fire recently, and he got nothing to go. And there was that stretch, I think, in the beginning of the fourth quarter where Tatum had a beautiful pass over to Hauser for a wide open corner three. It takes a weird hop off the rim, and then all of a sudden Obi Toppin's laying it up on the other end in about 2 seconds. And it's just, in a lot of ways, as frustrating as this was and as horrible as the refs were, because they completely lost control of this game multiple times. And there was several beer spillages throughout the game as well. Yeah. It wasn't just the one. It was just a sloppy, ugly, terrible game from top to bottom in just about every way, I thought.
In every way, this was terrible. I don't know. I kind of felt like it kind of started and ended with Jason Tatum. One free throw attempt, I think, is kind of telling about how he approached the game tonight. I feel like he's done this against the Knicks earlier in the season where he shot 14 threes and a lot of them went in. 9 3-point attempts, that's pretty standard for Tatum, but the approach earlier felt like he wanted to shoot his way into the game, where sometimes I just would really like him to do it the other way around, where I would like him to play inside out as opposed to outside in. And today was one of those nights where it was kind of clear that it feels like we haven't gotten off to one of those dominating starts in a long time, when we're up 12-2. And teams come back and even it up from there. But just to get out of the gates quick, get to the rim, get to the line, get the ball moving, get some easier shots, that would be something that I would have liked to see from Tatum, especially coming off 2 bad games in a row, kind of assert yourself both on offense. Defensively, I thought he was fine. But I would have liked to see him really get into guys, some help defense, kind of some lazy doubles I thought like tonight as well. But yeah, Tatum, would like to see more complete locked in from him, hopefully against the Cavs.
Yeah, it's funny with Tatum, just when we thought as fans we understood the standard trajectory of a Jason Tatum season, just the various chapters of a Tatum season, and after the All-Star break it comes out hot. Like, we haven't really seen a decent, really, Tatum game. Obviously, had some great moments against Philly the other day, but we haven't seen some great Tatum performances yet coming out of the All-Star break, or really even in the few games leading up to it. That's a little bit concerning. I'm not ready to declare that like a point of concern. Like, he will get over this and he will perform in the playoffs, as he has always done since his career started. But I'm someone who like panics when things don't go as planned, when things don't go as organized, and so this is like completely like deviated from the normal structure and has me somewhat concerned. We had a comment here from Winfred Fields saying, is it not concerning that our only adjustment when shooting 20% from three, our only adjustment was to go 5 out and shoot more threes? Spoonie, I wanted to ask you about that, and Jake, will get your thoughts as well. Like, what are your thoughts on that? Like, just keep shooting threes despite the fact that we're just fucking missing them all.
Yeah, and I think it goes to just sort of the broader strategy that the Knicks play with, and it's very similar to the Bucks. Like, I think we had a distinct game plan to play outside in against the Bucks, or against the Knicks rather, because they just parked Mitchell Robinson down in the paint. I mean, he does not really get out on shooters. They just will give you open shots if you go 5 out. So I think it was intentional that we didn't start out inside out. And I don't have a problem with that game plan. I mean, I think you generate a lot of open looks, and I didn't think most of them were off ball movement. I actually thought Tatum could have had like 5 or 6 assists in that first quarter if we could get anything to drop. So from a process standpoint, I get the frustration with seeing us just bomb away, but the Knicks make you play like that. They really do. And it's a regular season strategy, in my opinion. I don't think it works over a 7-game series, but when you get caught, your third straight road game, and you go cold, you're going to look really, really bad with how they play defense. And I thought they did a really good job staying. They were just really patient. I mean, they didn't let us draw them out except for that kind of one run in the third quarter when Muscala did come on. And I thought offensively it started to look pretty good, but the problem then is you've got Hauser and Muscala on the defensive end, and even the Knicks role players, like, we had to throw doubles it quickly. Like, that is not a good sign.
Not great.
We've definitely been doing doubles a lot more lately, right? It feels like last season it was all guard your yard, no one doubles ever. There's a lot less of that going on, and we're way more willing to throw doubles. And Scout mentioned on the broadcast, it led to, like, that was the difference in the game. Anytime there was a moment where it felt like a team was going to build on momentum, the Knicks hit their 3 out of a double team after we got a stop. Yeah, and those back-to-back Muscala in and out, and the Hauser missed 3 into the top and 3. That was kind of the night. And they haven't updated the 3-point, like the first half, second half, like box score yet. But I think they took 17 3-point attempts in the first half, from memory, because they were 1 for 16, and then I think we hit the second one, which made us 2 for 17. That's actually well under our kind of average 3-point rate. We take 42, I think, per game. And I told you guys I've been practicing my maths. So 17 times 2 is 34. That's actually well under. And there was that stretch in the second quarter where we did the double big lineup came in. We went on the 10-0 run. We're grinding on defense, and then we kicked out a few times to threes, and that was when the timeline, everyone was like, should we even be bothering when we're shooting threes? But to come back in a game where you're down by 15 plus, yes, you can keep grinding and getting like 2-point shots here and there, but you have to hit a couple of threes at some point in order to get back over the hump. And they were great shots in transition. The defense was good, getting out and running, wide open. That's where I became more comfortable with the second half. I really liked the intensity was there, the defense. The second half of the second quarter, I meant to say. From then onwards, I thought it was good. They came out flat, but they ramped it up. That's probably the biggest positive takeaway. Is I thought that's the best defense the double bigs lineups probably played all season, just because they haven't played that much.
Yeah, and with like you're saying, like, we did throw punches, but the Knicks just had a counter punch every single time. And also, like you mentioned, that wide open missed Hauser 3. Goes back the other end. The Celtics double. They rotate really well and like scramble out to all the swing passes, and they make one final swing pass to Obi Toppin, who I don't have the numbers here, don't believe is a particularly good 3-point shooter, and he just splashes that. And that in contrast to the missed wide open Hauser 3. Like, we've had these kinds of podcasts before, guys. It's just like the overarching takeaways. Like, it was just one of those nights, and like that in it was this game in its essence, I suppose. Other areas where the Knicks really killed us, Jalen Brunson, Julius Randle. Let's start with Jalen Brunson out of the pick and roll. Like, you've added this to the run sheet, I think, Spoonie, but just on how we did, or rather did not, contain Brunson in the pick and roll. And we had Marcus Smart in this game. We didn't have him in the last game against the Knicks, where Brunson was also very effective. Did you see any differences there with how we met Brunson?
Not really. I mean, I really thought we were playing a lot of drop, and that to me plays into Brunson's strengths. Like, I'd prefer we just switch everything against him, play off him, and make him pull up in your face, because he's not a big guy. You can get a contest, and like, he's going to hit some of those shots. But look, if he hits 10 pull-up jumpers or 12 pull-up jumpers in a game, it's like, okay, tip your cap. But if you play drop, you're basically giving him space in the mid-range. And then that's when he can get you off balance and go to his kind of weird pivot game and stuff like that. You're just letting him get to the spot where he's most comfortable on the floor. And it didn't work at all. Like, yeah, he got Hauser and a couple switches, but also Hauser stopped him a few times too. You know, like, I'd rather live with that than basically just conceding every time they set a pick that you're going to have 3 to 5 feet of open room to work in the mid-range area, where's the spot you're trying to get to anyway every time. So I didn't love I didn't love a lot of the defensive adjustments Joe made, honestly, tonight. I think the game plan, I thought it was pretty sound at first, throwing hard doubles at Julius and then playing everybody else sort of straight up. But playing drop on Brunson's going to kill you. And then we were just throwing these wild doubles and traps at everybody. And that's just easy. NBA teams are going to pick that apart unless you disguise it and don't do it all the time. But it was like we got lazy, and it's just kind of this rote, like, oh, Quickly's got the ball, throw to at him. Brunson's got the ball, throw to at him. It's like they just generated anything they wanted.
It felt a little desperate, is what it felt like.
Yeah.
And the doubles were lazy as well. Like, if you're going to double hard, because that can actually work. But if you just meander over there, it's just easy pass, bounce pass over the top, swing, three. Yeah, the box scores are a little not indicative of how we held Brunson too. I felt like he gets a nice soft whistle, that's for sure.
Yes,
as well. What did he shoot? 12 free throws today? But yeah, I think that's a good call, Spoonie. Make him shoot some deep twos or some pull up threes. Like, he only takes 4.5 threes a game. It's not really what he wants to do. So make him take more than he usually does. But yeah, the Brunson pick and roll. And again, it's gonna be interesting to see what Joe does in the playoffs. Are we going to go back to more of our switch everything stuff? Because it's just not something we've gone to. Because I think last year it was Bam, and then Horford was the second most switchiest big man in the league, and Rob was up there as well. It's just not the same way they're playing this year, and it could be them trying to save Al's legs and stuff like that. But yeah, give me Al on the switch versus just just so much space, and he just makes the opponent feel so comfortable when you're such an elite ball handler and good decision maker like Brunson is down there. It just leads to them growing in confidence throughout the game.
Yeah, certainly hope Joe has the capacity and the willingness to make those those game specific or situation specific adjustments, because he almost seems to come out with like a game plan in his pocketbook or whatever, and it seems a little stubborn and unwilling to I don't know, his pocketbook, is that the wrong term? His clipboard, whatever. He seems a little unwilling to deviate that. One adjustment that we did see in this particular game that I thought was rather dynamic was Mike Muscala coming in. Blake Griffin, he was the first big off the bench. He popped a couple of threes, but hasn't played in weeks when you factor in the All-Star break. So he has understandably cooled off a little bit. Muscala comes in, we play a little bit of 5 out, and suddenly there's just a little bit more roominess in the paint, and we are able to get into the paint a little bit and are able to be a little bit more aggressive, shooting less threes while pulling defenders out of the paint. We did go on a little mini run there as a result of Muscala coming in, and I think all of us are probably starting to scribble some notes like, this is the turning point, like the moose is trampling the garden. I was working on all kinds of moose pumps, and it just didn't happen. Spoonie, what do you think that spells out for where the Celtics go from here? We've got the Cavs coming up next, another big defensive team that are going to clog up the paint with their bigs. Do you think we see a little bit more Muscala going forward as a result of those little pockets of goodness we saw today? Or tonight, I should say.
Mike Pocket of Goodness Muscala. It's got such
Hit
a
a
nice
stick.
ring to it. Yeah. Actually, I was calling for Muscala to play in the Sixers game for the same reason. Like, pull Embiid out of the paint, make him defend out to the 3-point line, wear him out, get him tired. And so I'm in on more Muscala. I think you really saw the problems tonight with him on the defensive end where he was twisted around, but he wasn't that bad defensively. But I think in a playoff series, teams will definitely target him and have some success. But I'm worried about the Cavs running Muscala because Donovan Mitchell will absolutely destroy him in isolation. So, I mean, I think he could do okay against a guy like Brunson where he just sort of keeps him in front of him and don't bite on pump fakes, which, by the way, we bit on every single pump fake tonight. And it wasn't even just like you kind of jump up, like jumping full speed, flying by, it's a 4-on-5. Like, what do you, Grant did it 3 or 4 times. It was like he was not even in the game or really trying. I mean, it was so frustrating watching us bite on Julius Randle pump fakes. Like, yeah, I know he hit a 3 early in the game, but like, let him shoot the ball. Come on. So I don't even know where I was going with this. Yeah, I'm pro Muscala. I don't know if I love him in the Cavs matchup as much, but I think the same logic applies to any team that's going to park a big center around the rim for large swaths of the game. Muscala makes a lot of sense to me.
You did invoke pain in me when you spoke about Julius Randle hitting a 3 earlier in the game. There are just certain players in the league that when they have success against you, it just hurts more than it does for other players. And Julius Randle is 100% one of those people because every time he does something positive, it feels like it just shouldn't be happening. I'm like, we're better than this. We should not be allowing this. This is all our fault. It has nothing to do with your ability, all self-inflicted. Yeah, that kind of another weird coaching decision, in my opinion. So it's 2 in a row with Joe going with Grant over Derek last game, and then going with Blake early over either Cornet or Muscala. Like, Blake's clearly, like, he's been good this year for what our expectations of Blake were. But when Cornet and Muscala are coming off the bench fresh, I don't understand why. Like, Muscala's better than Blake at literally everything besides vibes. Ben, I'm sorry. I can feel the emotion bubbling behind your face there. I was trying to figure it out. I was wondering if like there was some kind of deal that they made because it's New York and I don't know, Blake's got a comedy special tonight, and so it's like good promotional material post game, like in a Laugh Factory across the road. Because I couldn't figure out another reason. Yeah, something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I was kind of clutching at straws with this one as well. Like, we know with relatively small sample size, with Jake being on the pedestal as the head coach there, that he is kind of an eccentric. And like, is he just
you
kind
mean
of?
Joe? You said Jake. Yeah. I was like, I thought you were doing a Jake.
Joe,
I can do it.
Joe. Crazy Joe Mazzulla is who I mean. And like, is he like, how much, to what degree is he just messing around with different rotations and experimenting a la Brad Stevens at this point, trying to find what works so he can scribble that down in again his pocketbook. I'm sticking to this. So he's got something hard coded for the playoffs, strategy wise. Spoony, you look like you've got some thoughts. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, well, I'm trying. Yeah, go ahead.
No, please.
Yeah.
Bad hosting.
Maybe you guys have better memories than me. Is it like I feel like by this part of the season, Brad was tinkering. The earlier the season was, the more tinkering that he was doing, versus the later in the season, the less he was tinkering. But you know how nostalgia has a funny way of just, playing with your mind. And Brad didn't do anything to make me mad. He was completely perfect. But when I really think about it, I feel like everybody was furious with Brad throughout
all the time,
pretty much every season. Yeah. So maybe it is truly as simple as that. But at the same time, we don't need to tinker with Blake. He's not playing in the playoffs really. So it's like, come on.
Yeah. I was gonna say, look, we're 44-18, right? Like, I'm pro tinkering, but to your point, Jake, Blake is not the tinker. There's we don't need to see anything else from Blake Griffin this year. Like, play him when we really need him, when Rob and Al are out. But like, as an adjustment, he's not the guy you go to as an adjustment. No one's ever like, you know what this game needs? Blake Griffin. Like, that's
Hey,
not.
hey, wait a second. Not everyone feels that way.
Other than Ben.
No, I hear you loud and clear.
Non-insane people are never like Blake Griffin. No. So yeah, I'm with you, Jake. Like, I'm okay with Joe tinkering. I think Muscala's new to the team, so you still kind of got to figure out where he fits in. And also that the wing, there's no clear wing off the bench when Jalen or Tatum are out. And so you've got to kind of mix and match with your guards and playing two bigs and stuff like that. So I think that's what he was trying to find, what to do to cover those Jaylen Brown minutes on the wing. And he was not particularly successful with it, I didn't think.
Yeah, we really would have benefited from Jaylen Brown's ability to get to the rim in this particular game, especially early on when the paint was clogged. Like, he's such a bulldog, head down, dribble, gets into the paint. And, if they defend the rim, he's great at that pivot and sort of mid-range fader, a la Michael Jordan. We saw it in the Philly game. Spoonie, you saw it live. We're going to get to that a little bit later for some better vibes. Yeah, missing Jalen. I hope everything's okay in his world, being out with the personal reasons. But by all accounts, he's going to be back in the next one, thankfully. But sorely missed in this particular game. I've got two more individual player-related questions based on what we saw out of this game. The first one, we touched on it earlier. Jake, are we in a Tatum slump? Is it official? Can we make the declaration?
Yes. Yes. We're in the Tatum slump. It's bad. It's bad right now. He saved the day with the Philly game. The Philly box score isn't nearly as bad as it felt. 7 for 17, 3 for 8 from 3, 41, 38, percent. It's not, you can spin zone that. That's not so bad. Tonight you cannot spin zone. 6 for 18, 1 for 9 from 3. The free throw attempt is really speaks to how he's playing, I think, at the moment, because when he's not been shooting well, he's been finding ways to get to the line and boost his efficiency that way. Yeah, did not happen tonight. 4 turnovers. And so 2 games in a row. I mean, even the Pacers game, right? He's just throwing something. He's just going in with no plan, throwing it out of bounds. Better than throwing it to the other team, I guess. But very weird to just be seeing him throwing it out of bounds. I don't know. This is the new part of the season where the Tatum slump comes into play. There's always one. He hasn't really had a big one this season, I don't think. Obviously, he usually has it at the beginning of the season, and he was incredible to start the season. They usually last, 10 to 10-ish games or so. That's as good a time as any to have it, I guess, and then just take off before the playoffs start. The problem with having the slump here is that would probably mean that we lose our hold on the 1 seed, which I've kind of been saying I don't care too much about. Obviously would want it, but yeah, I don't. It's just surprising. It seems like a decision-making focus thing more so than anything else. I know some people were theorizing the wrist that he fell on in the Pacers game was the issue. I think that's kind of clutching at straws there.
I have a hot take.
Oh, let's hear it.
I like how Tatum played tonight. I actually thought he did I just thought he did a really good job of not forcing anything. I thought basically all of his threes were good shots, except for the one he took where Randall clearly fouled him at the end of the game. And he was finding open shooters all night, I thought. And I think he could have had easily 13 or 14 assists. And I don't know. That's how I want him to play. I think he needed to attack with a little more force, but for the most part, I actually kind of really liked his game, other than the shots just didn't go down. So generally, obviously, the shot not going in doesn't look good, and he's slumping right now. So I agree, we're in the midst of a Tatum slump, but I think he'll be just fine.
Yeah, again, looking for silver linings, that even the slumps aren't as slumpy as slumps of Tatum slump past. Take that for a sentence. His lows are nowhere near as low as they used to be, to put it more succinctly. Final question on this game, player related. Spoonie, are Derek White and Malcolm Brogdon, is their ascension impacting Marcus Smart's reintegration into the lineup? He's looked a little bit up and down since his return. He was great in the Pistons game. Since then, he's looked a little bit like more of a bad decision-making version of Marcus Smart, which we know from prior seasons. Do you think there's an impact on him there?
Yeah, I've not really considered that. That's certainly interesting because when he shares the floor with those guys, he's naturally going to have a little bit less of the ball. I thought Smart was probably the only guy who wasn't afraid to go to the rim tonight, and I thought he did a really good job of that. But yeah, his assists have been down since he's come back. But the beauty about Marcus Smart is he knows how to give a team what it needs, and his skill set is varied enough that he's capable of giving the team sort of like, oh, you need me to just play crazy defense and spot up in the corner? I can do that. You need me to run high ball screen? I can do that. You need me to post up Jalen Brunson? I can do that. So it probably is a bit of trying to find his way and where he fits in with Brogdon and White, both playing really, really well. And Brogdon was amazing tonight, probably our best player. And I think also part of it is like, he's probably still working his, Smart's not been known to be the most in shape guy of all times. And he missed like basically a month. So he's probably still, and then immediately played a game and then immediately had a week off. So I wonder if he's kind of playing himself back into shape a little bit as well.
Yeah. I thought his defense was really good as well.
Yeah.
I thought he brought the energy that you need from the heart and soul of the team as far as trying to set the tone goes. I thought he was banging with Julius Randle. I thought he did that last game as well, like really mixing it up with Embiid and PJ Tucker, and that's. I mean, he had the block at the rim of Hartenstein. That was sick,
amazing.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Even last game, he had like a deflection, and then he rolled backwards. He's sliding backwards, and he just flips. So. I like to see those sorts of things from Marcus because physically he looks good to me. Marcus shooting 15 times is just historically not a good thing. Even when he makes seven for 15, like you think, oh, if you can get 7 for 15 from Marcus, you're laughing. But anytime he shoots more than 10 times, that often means that he's felt like he needs to put on the cape and save the day. And he kind of did we kind of needed that from him today because no one else had it going. But it's usually a sign that things aren't going that well. He had that one just awful transition, step back, pull up three.
And we were like on a run too.
We were on a run.
Yeah. Oh, that was so bad.
Yeah.
I forgot about that. Yeah.
19 points on like 46% shooting. It's not terrible, but it's not the Marcus Smart we know. And you kind of touched on it there, Jake, but anything above 10 shots for Smart is usually a sign of danger for like whether we win or lose. And we've sort of grown to love Marcus Smart as the maestro, referring to him as the maestro, the conductor of the orchestra. And that's what I think we're not seeing from Smart that we need to regather somehow, because this team like humming along at its best version of its best self is when Marcus Smart is like steering the ship and dishing all the assists and coordinating and all of that good stuff. And I just haven't seen that to that elite level that we saw him doing earlier in the season and in later stages of last season as well. Any other like missed takeaways or individual performances from this game that you guys want to highlight?
It is a tricky part of the schedule coming out. I feel like you got Philly, Knicks are good. Pacers before Halliburton went down, good. Cavs coming up. Then we get a little bit of breathing room. We get Trailblazers, Rockets, Trailblazers, Kings, Spurs. That's a very squishy part of the schedule, especially when you look at the other team's defenses. That feels like it could be a chance for Marcus to kind of get back on track and the offense to feel a bit more, get more confidence, get the ball movement going. That's kind of what I'm looking forward to, and hopefully we can kind of grind out a win against the Cavs. But I feel like we could kind of use an easier part of the schedule to kind of get us on track.
Mm-hmm.
I thought Mitchell Robinson outplayed Rob.
He did.
Yeah, he did.
It hurts to say, but I thought he pretty clearly outplayed Rob. And I thought there were a few times on the defensive glass, Rob just completely missed boxing him out.
Yes.
And you cannot do that to Mitchell Robinson, man.
Yes.
That's like his game offensively. That's basically all he does. Like, you just got to find him and put a body on him. Smart had a few great box out on him in the first half, and Smart continues to be maybe the best box out guard in the league. So That's nice. But he had a couple of times when we were making runs and we'd force a miss and Mitchell Robinson would just kind of tip it back in. And those are backbreakers, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Just a comment to the Knicks fan in the chat.
Shout out you guys.
Every time you comment, that counts as engagement for us, which is enormously helpful. So thank you for joining us, and please feel free to keep commenting.
Yeah, please hang it. Yeah, let's go.
Subscribe.
Yeah, subscribe, share with your friends, share with your stupid Nick friends. We've got a few miscellaneous points to get to from this game. The first one being this situation with Mike Gorman, who, like, first of all, like, all jokes aside, I hope Mike is okay. So good to have Mike, like, back on a road game as well, and Madison Square Garden of all places. I think he just looks cool. I'm sure, like, he's probably in some level of discomfort, but rocking the eye patch, looking great. Hopefully, depth perception. I thought he called the game quite well.
Yeah.
Which hasn't always been the case in his twilight year, if we're being honest. But I thought he was particularly good in this game. Very open-ended question here, guys. But any thoughts on Mike Gorman and the eye patch, or anything from the broadcast today?
I think it just speaks to the kind of legend that he is. Like, to pull out one of his season's best performances, missing an eye. He even mentioned that, like, where they're sitting, they were kind of blocked by a couple of people. And look, hand up, hasn't been Mike's best year, but MSG. The lights are bright. I feel like Mike rose to the occasion. The Celtics didn't, but Mike, I respect it, and that's why he's a legend and a Hall of Famer.
Yeah. Hey, I also thought I love that he was just like, I'm coming out in an eye patch and I'm not explaining it at all.
Yes. No one acknowledged the eye patch.
Yeah. So I thought it was just kind of funny to me that he was like, you think he'd be like, had to have some stuff going on in my eye, everything's fine or whatever, but he just is like, shows up in an eye patch and nobody talks about it the whole time, which is fine, whatever. I don't care. He doesn't need to explain himself to me. I just thought it was like, Mike is he's just the man, dude. He's just the best.
Absolutely. Shout out to the Knicks fans. No other fan bases jump in the chat after a loss to their team. So we love it. We will love it. We'll respond in kind at some point once we finally beat you guys at some point, likely in the playoffs.
Up to the 6th seed, so it's unlikely we're going to catch them in the first round. And, let's be honest, pretty unlikely they're going to make it through to the second round. So, I know.
Next year.
Maybe we'll play them in the playoffs eventually where we can sweep them out, which would be nice.
What other missed takeaways from this game? I think Jalen Brunson might be the grumpiest looking human associated with the NBA. He just looks like he has a gripe with everyone around him at all times, like a disgruntled employee. I think he has the face of. I feel like I would struggle to work alongside him, always trying to gauge the vibe. Like, does this guy like me? Does he not like me? What's going on? Have I done something to annoy him? This is what we get with the missed takeaway section, guys. I'm not going to apologize.
Randall's got an angry face too.
Big angry team. Angry fans as well.
I don't think Jalen Brunson is actually angry all the time, but I think Julius Randle is just actually angry at all times. So.
Yeah, well, like Brunson's a grifter, right? And so I think those dudes typically kind of run grumpy as a general rule. Like Harden's grumpy, Luka's pretty grumpy. Luka's kind of got a wide spectrum. He's either like laughing or grumpy because of the crying, and Brunson kind of falls more into that category a little bit with some of the grifting that he does. Mm-hmm. But yeah, good team. Five wins in a row for the Knicks. Like,
yeah, they're good, man. This is not last year's Knicks rolling out Evan Fournier on the wing, man. And Grimes is really good. I like his game a lot.
Yeah. Quick release. I like that jump shot from Grimes also. Other missed takeaways from this one. We'll combine these two together. The third quarter, Tatum technical foul, where like he was clearly pushed in the back while slamming that dunk in, and then obviously the ejection as well. Maybe deserved. Like obviously he was chirping at that ref quite a bit, but I think that ref had it coming as far as like all of the missed calls and everything that Tatum wasn't granted in this one. Any thoughts on that or any other missed takeaways before we wrap this one up, guys? Yeah,
one free throw attempt for a guy that's averaging 9 free throw attempts a game. Like there's something going on there. The second technical was the game was over. They were down like 14 with 2 minutes to go. That I think Tatum just wanted to kind of get his money's worth at that point. And honestly, kind of a good thing because he played 36 minutes again, even and there was 3 minutes to go. So that would have taken him to 39, 40 minutes. So Tatum was like, Joe, I'm out. Enough of these minutes. I'm out of here.
Smart.
Yeah, I don't have anything else on this one. Let's move on and pretend it never happened.
It was pretty brutal. We do have Nerlens Noel buyout on the run sheet. No. Just a quick thumbs up or thumbs down from you guys on whether the Celtics should pursue Nerlens Noel.
One more big.
Yeah. Maybe if we didn't get Muscala, I'd be a little bit interested, but there's just no room for him in the rotation.
I'm hoping he doesn't go to Philly because they just have no backup bigs. I don't think that he's going to have like a serious impact on the outcome of a playoff series, but I think he would be an improvement over B-Ball, Paul, and Montrezl
Deadman.
Harrell.
Don't they have Deadman now?
Deadman walking.
Like PJ Tucker's their best backup five, but like that's not sustainable. So that would actually feel a need for them. Hopefully, it goes back to the Mavs or something.
All right, enough of all that. Let's move on. Look, you can read all about this on CelticsBlog.com. Mr. Wayne Spooney infiltrated behind enemy lines in the city of brotherly love, city of Philadelphia, went to that amazing, thrilling Celtics Sixers game. I'm just going to throw it over to you, Spooney. Obviously, we've got the written version. Can we get the verbal version of your experience there in the Death Star, as you called it?
So we, got into town Friday, had a drink or two, walked to dinner, went to this place called Pesto in South Philly. It was delicious, wonderful dinner. Bring your own wine. So we brought a bunch of bottles of wine. I had some glasses of wine, grabbed a drink afterwards. And then, we were walking back to our host's apartment and we're just walking past across street right at an intersection, and there's a car just like parked at the stop sign. And I don't think anything of it, right? Philly's a very large city. There's cars there. So, and then all of a sudden my chest just starts hurting, not like really bad, but just like a bee sting or something. And my wife's like, starts dying laughing and she's like, you just got hit with an egg. And I look down and I'm covered in like yolk and egg liquid, and there's eggshell all over me. And I just started laughing because it was just nothing like that has really ever happened to me in my life before. I mean, I've had some run-ins in Philly where somebody's like stuck their hand in my back pocket getting off the subway, but like a random egging is just not something I expected when I rolled up to Philadelphia. So that really set the tone for the whole weekend, frankly.
Were you wearing any Celtics gear at all?
No, man.
Unprovoked.
Totally unprovoked. It just happened to be me. I don't know why, but it was just like, I always say, like, I'm not like some global traveler or anything like that. I've done some traveling. I've been to a lot of cities in the United States. Philly is my least favorite. I just do not like it at all. And it doesn't like me. So I think we're like together on that. Yeah. But the game was awesome. We went, about 45 minutes early. The walk-in, I wasn't like scared or anything, but I was a little anxious and knew like I couldn't full on cheer and clap in people's faces.
Yeah. Did you wear Celtics gear?
Yeah, I had a Celtics shirt on. My wife had a Celtics sweatshirt on. So we were rolling up. We were representing. There was more Celtics fans than I expected. Saw some Tatum jerseys on the walk-in. Saw a Kyrie Celtics jersey at one point, which was just really bizarre. So we get to our seats, grabbed a couple drinks, how it is, grabbed a water or whatever. And then we're like 3 minutes into the first quarter, and the woman sitting right next to us just pukes all over the floor.
What?
Yeah, just pukes all over the floor.
Between her legs?
Yeah, like down between her legs, all over the floor. It wasn't like a ton of puke, but it was puke right there. And like her boyfriend's just like, oh damn, and he's just like eating away and drinking his beer.
Keeps eating.
Yeah, and we're like, dude, get her out of here. And she just like goes to the bathroom by herself, and then 10 minutes later he leaves, And then he comes back without her and another beer and a bucket of French fries and sits down and just starts eating and drinking again. So she comes back with a ton of napkins. In the meantime, I had gone to ask for like custodial to come by and clean it up. They never showed up. They're like, yeah, we'll be up there. Don't worry.
Yeah. 2 minutes, bro.
Yeah, exactly. Never showed up. So we were just like sitting next to a huge pile of pukey napkins for the entire game, which was just like quintessential the city of Philadelphia. But the game obviously was awesome. By the end, I was screaming pretty loudly on that Tatum shot to win it. I couldn't help myself. So the guy in front of me at like, once Embiid's shot didn't count, just turned around and was like, F you, F you, F you. I'm like, sorry, man. I don't know what to tell you. You guys suck.
Yeah.
I didn't say a word. I just laughed. But and then the walkout was incredible, dude. Like you could, the sadness of the Philadelphia fans was palpable. Like people were just shaking their head. One guy was just screaming, "We'll never beat them! We'll never beat them! Tatum, we'll never beat them!" And you would just hear random people like, "Tatum!" Like, you know what I mean? It was absolutely ridiculous. It was incredible, man. It was nothing like I've never experienced anything like that before because I've only seen games in DC. And there's more Celtics fans there. So to like experience a team, like a fan base that actually cares and to lose in heartbreaking fashion like that, man, it was a lot of fun. And honestly, nobody gave me any crap other than that one dude who kind of like he wasn't really being an asshole. He was just like, F you, all in good fun for the most part. So nobody bothered me. Everybody was cool. The one dude who said he'd call custodial, I know he tried to, so he was really cool. He was a nice guy. Just the custodians just never showed up. They're like, nah, we're not doing that. But so yeah, it was a lot of fun, dude. I really enjoyed it. And like everybody was cool. Like I had some people be like, oh, be careful. But the Philly fans were totally respectful. And I was being too, I wasn't trying to be a jerk or anything. Yeah. So it was good. It was a lot of fun.
That's awesome. And I was, as you were saying that, I'm thinking, the Tatum thing just must cut pretty deep. Just not because obviously he's been kicking their butt for his whole career, but the fact that they could have drafted him, they could have drafted Jalen. Can you imagine how bad our lives would be if they had drafted Jalen instead of Simmons and Tatum instead of Fultz? Our lives would be over.
Yeah,
I would have moved to the mountains years ago and cut off all my internet.
Got really into hockey.
Yeah, choose an egg-shaped ball sport, not a round ball.
That's amazing. Such an amazing story. Too many nice things said about Philly, if I'm being honest, Spoonie. But I'm glad that it wasn't that treacherous. Yeah, safe. Jake, have you ever been to a road game? Any hostilities met on any road games?
Yeah. I'm like scarred now from wearing the wrong clothes. I went to a Niners-Panthers game. And I wore just like my Patriots Edelman jersey, and we weren't being rude to anyone because like the Niners won by 40, the Panthers suck, whatever. But we were really drunk, and we're leaving the game, and just I'm in between my two friends who are both like 6'2", and all of a sudden I just out of nowhere this dude comes out of the crowd, flying fist, and just knocks me out on the drive.
Oh, dude,
out
damn, man.
Yeah, and I just like thankfully I'm like on this. Like not concrete, like mulch kind of part, so I don't land on concrete. And then he just runs into the crowd, and I'm like, this is why I have big friends. So like, and you got to protect me. And two, there was just no rhyme or reason we could really figure out why it happened outside of everybody hates the Patriots, and so I'm just kind of like we saw the Lakers play like a week later, and I was gonna wear Celtics stuff, and I'm like, I've been knocked out once this week. That's enough. And so I've been scarred since then. But it was kind of a weird experience. Obviously.
Yeah, it's crazy. I've never experienced violence like that, thankfully. But I did go to Celtics at Brooklyn Christmas Day 2012, which is aging me a little bit. But my wife and I had pretty good tickets, and in front of us was a father and maybe his like 10-year-old son, and it was clearly the kid's like first game. And I was off the plane. It's Christmas. Got a couple of beers in me. It's like a midday game. And I'm having a great time. And all I'm doing is like cheering for the Celtics, like super loud. This is like Jared Sullinger's rookie year. And he had like a 17-7 game. And KG was like really fired up based on his performance. Rondo was great. Jeff Green was great. Paul Pierce was great in that game.
Cool.
The Celtics won. And I was just like so happy and beaming and just like cheering in support of my team. But this kid like didn't handle it well. He just, because his team was losing and that was sad for him as a little fella. And this like loud Australian guy cheering like, at the top of his lungs behind him just like really like put him down, I think. And the dad was like patting him on the back, trying to cheer him up. Did I feel bad? Yeah, a little bit, but ultimately I walked away feeling pretty good. But road games, when your team wins, particularly in the fashion in which Spoonie witnessed the other day, is so much fun. Arguably more fun than winning at home. Guys, I'll offer this opportunity to you, Jake, before we wrap up. Do you want to tease or just like tell who our guest is almost fully confirmed to be in a couple of days' time on this podcast?
Yeah, you never know in this line of work what can happen right before the show, but the mistress's father, Sir...
The mister?
Mr. White... Derek White's dad as we slowly march towards having every Celtic parent on the podcast over the years. Derek White's dad has said he's going to come on after the Cavs game, which is super exciting. And I've like got to try and figure out how weird I'm going to be about the mistress thing.
Yeah, episode 2 in our Celtics Dads series. Can't wait. It's going to be great.
Celtics Dad series. I love it. Let's do parents, because I will take Tatum's mom if she wants to come on.
100%.
Any of their moms. Come on.
Any relation. Absolutely.
Yeah, really. Yeah. You're like a fifth cousin. Come on the show.
Yeah. Any of the Horford siblings. I know there's like 12 of you. Come on down.
Yeah.
Absolutely. All right, that is going to do it for this one. Thank you so much for joining us. Just a quick reminder that we are moving to CLNS. So at the moment, we're posting on both the Celtics blog feed and the CLNS, or rather our own podcast feed, which is now within the CLNS family. That's only going to be the case for a week or two, and then we're going to fully transition to only our new, which happens to be our old podcast feed. The link for that feed is going to be in the show notes for this show if you're watching or listening on the Celtics blog feed. So make sure you click on that link. Head on over to our new feed and subscribe there, because that's where you're going to be able to find us long-term moving forward.
Just do it right now. Just type in your phone, First to the Floor, podcast, Spotify. Literally, you're done. You're done already if you just do it in those last 7 seconds.
And we're back. We're going to be back, like we said, with Mr. White. Hopefully, Richard White directly after the Cavs game coming up in a couple of days. Spoonie, Jake, love your work, guys. Until next time, go Celtics.